I'd like to share a story with you that has always given me a lot of hope. This story is from the Muslim tradition and it's from the Quran, our holy book, but it's a story about Prophet Moses. He was the prophet of the Jewish people, the children of Israel. Now, there's a story in the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, where somebody asked him, "Who it is? This is the Moses in this story, and this story is in Surah Al-Kahf in the Quran." He said, "Is this Moses the same as the Moses, the messenger of God?" And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said, "Yes, it's the same." Messenger of God, that this thing happened to Moses. He was talking to his people in a sermon, and somebody asked him, "Oh, Moses, who has the most knowledge from God?" And Moses said, "Well, I do." And right then, you see, the thing about Moses was that out of all of the messengers of God, he had something special about him. He was the only messenger of God that God spoke to him directly. He didn't use Angel Gabriel. There was no intermediary. God spoke to Moses himself. And right then, when Moses said that he was the most knowledgeable, God said, no, there are other servants of mine who have knowledge that you do not have access to. And Moses said, "Oh, I want to know this knowledge." And so God told him some instructions. Moses left to find the servant of God. And in Muslim tradition, we call him Khidr. His name is Khidr, which means green. So Moses and his companion went looking for Khidr. And he had a fish in his basket, and something was going to happen to the fish, which told him that, look, this is the spot you're going to meet Khidr. So Moses and his companion were traveling and traveling, and they came to a place that was a place in between two bodies of water. Now they went and they made camp for the night, and all of a sudden, while they were camping, the fish came to life, jumped into the ocean, and swam away in a straight line. Now the companion of Moses saw it, but somehow he forgot to tell Moses that this is what he saw. The next day, when they packed up and they started moving on their way, the way became very difficult. Like there were all kinds of obstacles. They got tired, like they'd never gotten tired before. So Moses said, there must be something wrong. Let's check the fish. And the companion said, "Oh, I forgot to tell you, Satan made me forget. Last night, that fish came to life and it jumped into the ocean and it swam away in a straight line." And Moses says, "Oh, don't you know that was where we were supposed to meet the servant of God?" So they had to backtrack. And when they got back to the place where they were last night, they saw the servant of God, Khidr, sitting there waiting for him. Now Moses said to Khidr, he said, "I understand that God has given you knowledge that he has not given me." And Khidr said, "Yes, I know certain things that you do not know, but you know other things that I don't know. You should be satisfied with that." And Moses said, "No, I want to learn your information as well." And Khidr said to him, "You will not be able to be patient. I have special knowledge from Allah. When I do something, I do it with full knowledge from Allah. I obey God and I'm doing His will. And you will not have the background information to understand why I'm doing certain things. You will not have patience." And Moses said, "No, please try me. I will try to be patient." And Khidr said, "Okay, fine. But do not ask me about anything until I myself decide to talk to you about it." And Moses agreed. Now Moses and Khidr, they started traveling and they came to a river. And very close to the river, there was the ocean. And they saw a boat. They got into the boat and they rowed their way across. And at the other side of the river, Khidr took out a stave, which is like a sharp implement, and he stabbed holes in the bottom of the boat and he sunk it. And Moses said, "What did you do? How could you ruin a boat that didn't even belong to us? We don't know who this boat belongs to." And Khidr said, "Didn't I tell you that you will not be able to be patient? There is a reason why I did that." And Moses said, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I wasn't supposed to question you." And Khidr said, "Okay, fine." So they started walking along. And they were walking and walking, and they saw this young man coming towards them. And as he passed by, Khidr killed him. And Moses said, "What on earth did you do? How could you kill a young man? He was innocent. He didn't do anything." And Khidr said, "Didn't I tell you you wouldn't be able to have patience? I do not do things except with knowledge from God. There's a reason why I did that. And Moses said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, I believe you have knowledge, special knowledge from God, and you're doing it with his permission. I'm sorry. If I bother you again with questions, you are free to dismiss me and I won't find any fault with you." And Khidr said, "Okay, fine." Now they went traveling again, and Moses held his tongue. He was very quiet. He didn't ask any questions. But then they came to a village, and the people of this village were so horrible, so unhospitable. Nobody offered them any food, even though they were travelers and they were hungry. And nobody offered them a job where they could earn some money and get something to eat. Moses was very hungry. Now at the edge of the village, they came to a wall that was tumbling down. So hither he took some stones, and Moses started helping him. They made some mortar and they started building up that wall again. And they built it and built it up till it was nice and high and strong. And as it was done, Khidr started walking out towards the other village, even though they were both very hungry. But Moses, he couldn't help himself. He said to Khidr, he said, don't you think maybe we can ask those people in the village that they could pay us something for this work we did on this wall, so maybe we could get some food? And Khidr said, okay, that's the third time. We will part our ways because you cannot be patient and wait till I'm going to talk to you about the things that I did. But before you go, I will give you the explanation for the three things you witnessed. The first one was the boat. Remember, I made the holes in the boat. Now, that boat belonged to some righteous, God fearing men. They were very poor, and they used the boat to go and catch fish to feed their families. They were very poor. There was a king coming, and this king, with his army, he was commandeering all the boats. He would have taken that boat, and those people would have been left with nothing to earn their living with. They wouldn't have been able to catch any fish and feed their families. So, what I did was I disabled it. I poked some holes in it so that the king wouldn't want the boat. But the people that owned the boat, they would be able to fix it and they could continue catching fish and feeding their families. Now, that young man that I killed, his parents were very God fearing people, very good people. And this young man was going to grow up. We were sure that this good man was going to grow up to cause so much misery and trouble and bloodshed all over the land, even though his parents were such good people. I killed this son because there was another son coming, and this other son would be a coolness to his parents' eyes. He was going to be a good, God fearing soul. So we killed this one because he was going to cause a lot of misery, so that the other son would come and it would be fine. Now this wall that we just rebuilt, it belongs to two orphans back in that village. Now you saw those people, how horrible those people are. Those orphans, those two orphans, their father was a God-fearing man. He hid a treasure he buried it under this wall before he died. It was their inheritance because he knew that he could not trust anybody in that village to hold on to it for his sons when they grew up. We rebuilt the wall so that this wall would last until his sons grew strong enough that they could get their inheritance. And that's why we did that. Now, those are the three reasons for the things that I did. And now our ways must part. And you must be satisfied that God has given you certain knowledge, and He has given me certain knowledge. And my job is to go through the land and set things right according to God's plan. Now, what I always get from this story is that sometimes terrible things can happen, and we don't always know the reason for them. And it can make us question our faith. But we have to remember that there's a bigger picture, and we don't have all the information. So have hope. This story always gives me hope. Thank you for listening.